You know that feeling? You're sitting in a meeting, everyone's nodding, smiling, saying all the right things, but you can just feel it, right? The real disagreement is just hanging there in the air.
Oh, definitely. And then the second the meeting ends, boom.
Exactly. The real conversation explodes out in the hallway or by the coffee machine. I've certainly seen that happen plenty of times.
It's such a common thing, isn't it? That the real meeting happens anywhere with the actual meeting room.
Hmm.
And, it's quietly toxic. It really erodes trust, innovation, and, well, actual results.
Right. And that's really what we want to dig into in this deep dive. We're exploring how to fix that. Not, by encouraging everyone to be rude,
No, not at all.
but by figuring out how to build workplaces where truth is actually safe, where it's expected even, and where it's genuinely productive.
We've pulled together some really powerful insights for this one, looking at practical ways to foster that genuine candor, accountability, and importantly, continuous improvement.
And this feels especially critical right now, doesn't it? With new tech like AI coming in, reshaping how we work.
It really is. AI tends to amplify everything, including those hidden problems.
Mhm.
So getting this right is more urgent than ever.
It's about moving beyond that culture of just being, quote, nice,
Yeah, the superficial niceness.
to a culture where truth is actually welcomed, where it's seen as healthy for the organization.
Exactly. It's about productive truth-telling.
Okay, so let's unpack this whole candor crisis idea. The material we looked at really highlights the hidden costs of what looks like a nice, agreeable culture.
There's this great scenario described. A VP of product finishes presenting a big new roadmap, asks any question.
it hits.
Total silence. So the VP says, great, let's move forward. But literally 2 minutes later, the hallway is just buzzing.
That'll never work. Did he seriously not see the issue with phase 2?
Precisely. That's the hallway conversation phenomenon right there. It shows the core issue perfectly.
Which is
In the meeting itself, emotional safety, it often takes a backseat to political survival. People are just afraid to speak up. They fear the consequences.
right. And the sources contrasted this really well with those 3 company examples. Company A.
Ah, yes. Company A prided itself on being brutally honest. Meetings were basically battlegrounds.
And the result.
A staggering 47% turnover rate.
Yeah.
People just couldn't take it.
Okay, so that's one extreme. What about Company B?
Company B was the nice one. Meetings were peaceful. Everyone agreed. Sounds good.
Sounds okay on the surface, but I sense a but coming.
But they hadn't launched a successful product in 3 years. Total stagnation, niceness led to inaction.
Wow. So neither extreme worked. Then there was Company C.
Company C is the positive example. A junior engineer, quite junior, respectfully raises her hand in a big planning meeting.
Gutsy move.
Very. And she says, I think we're solving the wrong problem. Then for 10 minutes, she carefully, respectfully, but very clearly dismantled their entire 6-month plan.
And how did that go down?
Amazingly well. They changed the plan right there on the spot. Saved months of wasted work, potentially millions of dollars.
That's it. That's the goal, isn't it? It shows candor isn't about being mean or brutal.
Exactly. The definition that came through was caring enough to share truth in a way that helps. It's constructive.
So if it's clearly so beneficial, why doesn't it happen more? What's blocking it and fueling this blame game instead?
Several big blockers.
Yeah.
First up, power dynamics, that invisible script.
The don't challenge the boss script.
Yep. There's a story about David, a brilliant senior developer.
Yeah.
He saw a huge flaw in a new architecture design.
Okay.
The CTO presents the flawed plan. David starts to speak up, but the CTO just raises an eyebrow slightly, just a look.
Then David?
He immediately changes course mid-sentence. Actually, never mind. It's probably fine. 6 months later, system crashed. Big time.
Wow. Just from an eyebrow raise. That's powerful.
Incredibly powerful. And it ties right into the promotion fear factor.
Ah, yes. The story of Sarah and Mike.
Right. Sarah spoke truth to power, pointed out flaws. Mike just smiled, agreed, and executed whatever leadership wanted, even if he knew it was flawed.
And Mike got promoted. Sarah didn't.
Exactly. And when Sarah asked him about it, about how he stayed so upbeat about plans they both knew wouldn't work, his response was chilling.
What did he say?
He said, I figured out early that my job isn't to be right. It's to be successful. And successful people don't make waves.
Ooh, that really hits home. When the system rewards silence or agreement over honesty, you get silence.
You absolutely do. And then there's cultural conditioning, too. It goes deeper.
And how so?
Well, an example came from workshops in India. For some participants, the highest value was preserving harmony. Direct feedback, direct disagreement, it felt fundamentally disrespectful.
So overriding years, maybe a lifetime, of being taught that respect means not challenging or kindness means avoiding conflict. That's a huge hurdle.
It's incredibly challenging. It's not about being dishonest. It's about deeply ingrained cultural norms clashing with, say, a more Western idea of direct candor.
And even beyond individuals, the organization itself can fight back, right? This antibody response.
Yes, the organizational antibody response. It's fascinating. Someone raises an uncomfortable truth, and the system reacts to protect itself, to protect the status quo.
How does that look?
First, maybe minimization. Oh, it's not really that bad. Then deflection. Let's try to focus on the positive things.
Then isolation. You seem to be the only one who feels this way.
Exactly. And finally, labeling. You're not really being a team player here. These often aren't malicious. They can even be well-meaning attempts to keep things smooth.
But the effect is the same. It silences dissent and maintains a dishonest culture.
Precisely. And all this resistance feeds directly into what one source called the hot potato of blame.
The hot potato game. I like that image. Everyone trying to pass the blame.
Exactly. In meetings, when something goes wrong, all the energy goes into figuring out whose fault it is rather than how to fix it.
It's usually driven by fear, not actual dishonesty.
Generally, yes. It's a deep-seated fear of consequences. If mistakes are punished, your self-preservation instinct just kicks in. Focus on who did it, and boom, fear takes over. The potato gets tossed around.
The costs of that kind of blame culture must be huge.
Oh, profound.
Yeah.
There's the psychological burden on people, obviously, but it also leads to hesitation, avoiding any kind of risk.
Which kills innovation.
Completely. Innovation and creativity just wither. Stagnation sets in. You start hearing those phrases.
Oh, that's just the way we've always done it.
Yeah, not invented here. And the hidden costs are just staggering. Wasted time, project delays, resistance to learning, massive disengagement.
And you lose your best people. They won't stick around in that kind of environment.
No way. And you get those watermelon reports we mentioned?
Green on the outside, red on the inside. Everyone covering their backs.
Yep. And believe it or not, all of this gets exponentially worse when you introduce AI into the picture.
Right. You mentioned AI is like a ticking time bomb without radical transparency. Why is that? What makes AI different?
Well, AI amplifies problems at, frankly, AI speeds. Much faster, much wider impact. A small bug, a slight bias, something that might have been contained before.
Can become catastrophic when AI scales it up across thousands or millions of interactions.
Exactly. And often, these issues are buried deep inside the AI model, or they emerge unexpectedly from complex interactions. They're harder to spot until the damage is already done.
Like that resume AI example.
Perfect example. Systematically excluding women's college attendees for 6 months. It took an engineer breaking protocol, risking their job, to even surface it.
Or the AI diagnosis assistant. 94% accurate sounds great.
Until you realize the 6% it missed were your prime customers, leading to a major lawsuit because nobody was tracking or talking about those failures openly.
And the customer service bot, asking a grieving customer to verify a deceased spouse's ID on day one. These aren't just small glitches. They show a lack of oversight and open feedback.
Right. Hidden problems in AI systems don't stay hidden. They tend to explode. And AI systems aren't static. They degrade. They drift over time.
Like the recommendation engine that started radicalizing users.
Exactly. Nobody was tracking the quality of engagement, just the clicks, until it was way too late. It drifted into dangerous territory.
So it really hammers home the point. Transparent AI reporting, open feedback loops, they aren't just nice to have.
They're critical safety and ethical imperatives. With AI, transparency isn't just a virtue anymore. It's a core responsibility. You have to build it in.
Okay, so the stakes are high, especially with AI. How do we actually build this culture of truth and accountability? The material points towards a pretty radical shift in leadership.
Yes, moving from control to accountability. This is potentially a game changer.
How does it work?
It's about leaders actively taking accountability themselves when things go wrong. Imagine you're in that meeting, the blame hot potato is flying.
Yeah, stressful.
As the leader, you step in and say, this is my fault, I need your help, everyone's help, to figure out how we fix this problem.
Wow. That takes courage. Does it really work? Wouldn't people just blame the leader then?
The immediate effect, according to the sources, is that the blame game just stops, dead in its tracks. Why deflect? if the leader already picked up the potato.
Ah, okay. Takes the pressure off everyone else.
Exactly. And crucially, it immediately refocuses the entire group on solving the problem, not assigning blame. It diffuses tension instantly.
And it must build incredible trust and credibility for that leader.
Huge amounts. Confident, effective leaders admit mistakes. They model that it's safe for others to do the same. It changes the whole dynamic.
And we saw examples of this, right? Like Marcus, the CEO.
Yeah, great story. Stood up in front of the whole company, admitted a terrible decision. He'd made a failed acquisition attempt, walked them through it, the $3 million cost.
And said,
That's on me. Simple words, but they fundamentally shifted the culture. Suddenly, it felt okay for others to admit their own mistakes, big or small.
but a one-off act isn't enough, right? You need ongoing practices.
Absolutely. Vulnerability is key, but
Yeah.
you need to normalize these behaviors. Our sources highlighted several great practices. Failure Fridays, for example.
Tell me more about that.
It's a structured session. People share something like, this week I tried X, it didn't work because of Y, and here's what I learned, Z. The key. Leaders always go first.
Takes the sting out of failure, makes
Yeah.
it about learning.
Exactly. Removes blame and shame, turns it into collective improvement.
What about for tougher conversations,
Yep.
disagreements?
Designated dissent is a cool one. In critical meetings, you actually assign someone the role of devil's advocate. Their job is to find flaws, poke holes.
So it depersonalizes it. It's not just Jane being negative.
Right. It's Jane doing the job the team asked her to do. Makes critique much safer.
I like that. What else?
Red hat, green hat meetings.
Mm-hmm.
First half, everyone wears the metaphorical red hat, purely focused on identifying problems, risks, concerns. Second half, everyone switches to the green hat, focused only on solutions and possibilities.
So it legitimizes the critical phase, gives it its own space.
Precisely. And another really insightful practice, the mandatory meeting question, what are we missing?
Mandatory how?
Silence isn't accepted as an answer. Everyone has to contribute something, even if it's small. It forces those lurking concerns out into the open before decisions get locked in.
It sounds like building trust step by step, like that candor ladder concept.
Yeah, exactly. You start small, sharing positive observations, then maybe private concerns one-on-one, then raising issues in a small group, then respectful challenges in larger forums, and finally actually thanking people for offering those tough truths. Each rung builds on the last.
And this whole approach ties into radical transparency, which isn't just about data dumps, right?
Not at all. It's about speaking the truth consistently, especially when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. Regular transparency might just inform people.
But radical transparency transforms the culture.
That's the idea.
So what does this look like day to day? The sources had some really practical, proven practices.
They did. First, reality radiators or failure walls. Not hidden away in some retrospective document.
But out in the open.
Right next to the team's task board, maybe. A visual chart titled, What We Learned by Failing This Week. One manager kicked it off by admitting a mistake that wasted 2 weeks. Soon the wall filled up, and paradoxically, their success metrics started climbing.
Because they were actually learning from mistakes instead of repeating them.
Exactly. Then you have things like failure showcases. Netflix engineers apparently present their biggest failures and learnings and get applause for it.
Applause for failure. That's a massive cultural shift.
Isn't it? Imagine celebrating the learning that comes from a mistake that leads to a permanent fix.
And decision archaeology, like digging into past decisions.
Yeah, Amazon's famous 6-page narratives for major decisions. But the key is, they're living documents. They get updated as assumptions change or prove wrong.
So you learn from history. A startup had a simpler version.
Yeah, just 4 questions. What did we know? What did we assume? What did we decide? What actually happened? Help them stop making the same costly errors over and over.
Smart. What about giving people access upwards?
Truth channels, like skip the hierarchy sessions. Any employee can talk to any executive, no permission needed. But the crucial part,
Accountability.
public tracking of actions taken based on that feedback. That visibility turns it from a risky complaint channel into a trusted improvement system.
That's key. And finally, those reality dashboards. Moving beyond the watermelon reports.
Yes. Instead of just saying, we'll hit the deadline, teams attach confidence levels. Feature X by March 31st, 70% confidence.
So it introduces honest uncertainty instead of false certainty.
Exactly. It completely changes the tone of status meetings. You can have real conversations about risk and mitigation.
But all these cool practices, they need a foundation, right?
Absolutely critical. The sources hammered this home.
Mhm.
The foundation is psychological safety. Without it, Trying radical transparency can just lead to emotional carnage.
Like that Radical Friday example that backfired.
Right. Launched without leadership buy-in or trust. It just evolved into personal attacks, and people quit. You need those 4 pillars first: context, mindfulness, respect, and trust. Without them, transparency can be weaponized.
So the message is start small, build trust. Like Sarah, the manager who just admitted, I made a mistake with our estimate.
And that single honest comment opened the floodgates for her team. It created a cascade of truth, and they started working much better together.
Okay, so we're building safety, encouraging truth. But when things do go wrong, how do we avoid falling back into the blame game? How do we get to the real root causes?
The key reframing is focus on what happened, not who messed up. Keep public discussions focused on the issue, the process breakdown. Any individual feedback should happen privately.
And there's a technique for digging deeper, the 5 whys.
Yes, very common in product and service management settings. Agile loves it too. It's deceptively simple, like peeling an onion. You just keep asking why.
Can you give an example?
Sure, the software crashed. Why? Because a specific module failed. Okay, why did the module fail? Because it used an old, incompatible library. Why did it use an old library? Because the automated build process didn't check external dependencies properly. Why did the build check them? Because we never added a quality gate specifically for external libraries when we set it up.
Ah, so you go from a surface symptom, the crash, down to a fundamental process gap.
Exactly. But it only works if the conversation stays focused on the what and the why of the system, removing any hint of personal blame. It's about process improvement, not finger pointing.
That systematic focus on improvement, on peeling back layers, it feels like a natural bridge to lean principles.
It absolutely is. That whole mindset connects directly to lean thinking.
Right, the quest for working smarter. The sources trace this back centuries, but the modern roots are really with the Toyota way in the 1930s. And it wasn't just about assembly lines, was it?
Not at all. That was the revolutionary part. Toyota's philosophy was radically different in how it viewed people, instead of just top-down orders.
They involved the workers.
Actively involved workers at all levels. They saw them as valuable sources of knowledge and ideas for improvement. The people actually doing the work often know best how to make it better.
That's a fundamental shift, and this approach eventually got labeled lean.
Yes, the term lean was coined later by John Krafcik in 1988. It captured that Toyota essence of doing more with less inventory, less wasted effort, fewer mistakes, faster flow.
And the sources contrast lean quite sharply with Taylorism, right? Frederick Taylor's scientific management.
Very much so. Taylorism, often linked with traditional project management, was all about experts defining the one best way for workers to execute tasks. Very top-down, very control-oriented. Workers were essentially hands carrying out instructions.
Whereas lean empowers the front line. It builds a collaborative culture focused on continuous improvement, driven by everyone.
Exactly. It's a completely different philosophy about where improvement comes from, which leads us to the 5 core lean principles. First one.
Value. Defining value strictly from the customer's perspective. Anything else is potentially waste.
Right. Know what matters to the customer. Then the second principle. Value stream.
Mapping out every single step it takes to deliver that value, from the very start concept all the way to the customer.
Yep. Visualize the whole process to identify and eliminate waste delays, handoffs, rework, anything that doesn't add value for the customer.
Find the friction points. Okay, number 3.
Flow. Making sure the work moves smoothly and continuously through that value stream. No big batches, no long waits, minimizing interruptions.
Keep things moving steadily, and the goal is sustainability.
Yes, indefinite sustainability. Avoiding those heroic burnout-inducing pushes. Finding a rhythm you can maintain long-term.
Makes sense. Principle number 4.
Pull. This is about limiting work in progress, WIP, and unnecessary inventory. You only start new work when there's actual demand or capacity downstream.
The just-in-time idea. Don't build it until it's needed.
Precisely. And critically, this prevents queues from building up. The sources emphasize that queues degrade system performance exponentially. That's a huge hidden drag on many organizations.
Limiting WIP is powerful then. Okay, and the 5th principle.
Perfection. Which sounds daunting, but it's not about achieving some mythical, flawless state.
It's a mindset.
It's a mindset of continuous learning and relentless refinement, always looking for ways to improve the process, even in small increments. Kaizen, continuous improvement.
Value stream, flow, pull, perfection.
Got it. And the sources position lean as a kind of bridge.
Yes, I think that's a great way to put it. It acts as a bridge between, say, very rigid, top-down, efficiency-focused approaches sometimes seen in project management.
And the more fluid, adaptive, resilience-focused world of Agile, which really thrives in product and service management.
Exactly. Lean provides a systematic framework to improve processes for efficiency, but it does so by actively using feedback from people and focusing on flow, which inherently builds in some adaptability. It helps balance control and agility. And that balance feels incredibly relevant today, doesn't it? Especially with AI entering the picture, making work even more complex.
Exponentially more complex. We need systems that are not only fast and efficient, but also robust and able to handle unexpected changes, to adapt. Lean principles offer a solid foundation for that.
How so? How does Lean help with integrating something like AI?
Well, an AI system, however complex, is still part of a larger process delivering value to a customer.
Yeah.
You can apply lean thinking to that whole process.
Okay, like the AI chatbot example from the sources.
Perfect example. You'd use lean to define the value. What does the customer actually want from this bot? Probably a quick, accurate answer to their question.
Right.
Then you map the value stream. Query comes in, AI processes it, maybe it needs human help. Response goes out. Find the long wait times, inaccurate answers, unnecessary escalations.
And improve the flow.
Improve the flow, reduce the wait times, ensure queries move smoothly. Use pull, manage the incoming request rate so the system isn't overwhelmed, maybe using queues intelligently but sparingly.
And chase perfection.
Constantly. Continuously training the AI based on feedback, monitoring accuracy, reducing error rates, improving the helpfulness of the answers. That's applying lean for systematic efficiency.
But chatbots also need that resilience, right? They get weird questions, unexpected topics.
Absolutely. And that's where the agile mindset, so common in product and service management, comes in alongside lean. Agile helps the team behind the chatbot and potentially the bot itself learn constantly from real user interactions.
So it can adapt.
It helped them adapt to new patterns, handle edge cases gracefully, and evolve the chatbot's capabilities as customer needs change. Lean provides the efficient engine.
And Agile provides the adaptive steering. I like that analogy.
It captures the synergy well. Lean focuses on making the current process highly efficient and smooth, while Agile allows the process itself, the product, the service, to evolve and adapt effectively over time.
So historically, maybe high efficiency and high resilience felt like a trade-off. You optimize for one or the other.
Often, yes. But AI, when integrated thoughtfully using frameworks like Lean for the Process Foundation and Agile for adaptability,
Could help us achieve both simultaneously, high efficiency and dynamic resilience.
that's the promise. That balance is becoming much more attainable, moving beyond those old trade-offs. It's a really exciting possibility.
Wow. This has been a really fantastic deep dive. We've covered so much ground, from the dangers of fake harmony and blame,
To the power of leadership accountability and radical transparency practices.
and connecting it all to the systematic improvement lens of lean principles, especially as we navigate complexity and AI.
It really boils down to creating environments where problems get surfaced and solved collaboratively, not hidden away until they explode.
So as you, our listener, think about integrating AI or even just improving your team's daily workflow, here's a final provocative thought to chew on.
What's one specific, maybe uncomfortable truth you're holding back right now? And what's the real cost of not sharing it? Not just the cost to you, but to your team, your organization, maybe even your customers.
And then looking at your own situation, your business, your team, how specifically could these lean principles, value stream, flow, pull, perfection, help you strike that critical balance between control and agility, whether it's with AI or just making today's work better?
Some really practical things to consider there. We hope this discussion has sparked some valuable ideas for you.
And if you do want to explore the source materials we've been drawing from today and really dive even deeper into these powerful concepts for yourself, please do click on the links we've put right there in the description below.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.